Well, the day has arrived. Remember about 3 years ago, I said maybe one day when everyone has moved on, I'll finally go back and reply to all those comments that I missed the first time around? Well, in the 3 years since then, I'd say about 1 or 200 people have unsubscribed. So I think that kind of qualifies as everyone has moved on, at least enough for me, because at this point in my life, I'm okay with uploading low effort content, such as just reading comments and replying to them. But I wouldn't go all the way down to sink to the basement levels of copy and paste content or, worst of all, plagiarized content. So let's finally close the door. I know I'll feel good about getting some closure on this channel by finally replying to these. And hopefully it's entertaining enough that you enjoy it too. So I'll just start from the oldest videos. And from A Life-Changing Experience, my review of Needful Things by Stephen King, Sam Lamont said, I really enjoyed this review. I'm reading Needful Things now, and you really got me jazzed about pushing on. Great pace and presentation. Looking for more from you. Keep reading, brother. I apologize. I'm not going to read the emojis because I'm not sure how to distract them. Smiley face with sunglasses, flexing arm. I still haven't caught on to the emoji language, so that's why none of my replies have ever had them. But thanks, Sam Lamont. That was nice of you to say. It must be a bizarre feeling, like you're kind of throwing your comment into a vacuum when you see a book review that only has a couple hundred views and several comments. You must think, is anyone ever going to even see this? But somebody did, and they did appreciate it. So I appreciate that. Next, Deb Richardson said, I watched Chris Watts and loved it. Now I have enjoyed this too. Thank you. Thanks back at you, Deb Richardson. That was a nice thing to see at the time when the Chris Watts videos, his master plan revealed, were kind of building an audience on their own. Where it was the first thing where it seemed like, wow, the momentum of this channel is kind of picking up here when I started putting those out. And some people like Deb Richardson actually went and saw my much less viewed earlier videos, and Needful Things review was one of them. And I'm glad you like that too, Deb. And then Deb Richardson made another comment after that of, I am enjoying your channel. Smiley face, heart, thumbs up. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, that's all for the Needful Things. On to the next video, which was a challenging, rewarding experiment, which is the review of Ulysses by James Joyce. Ulysses? I never know which one to call it, so I call it both. And Static and Rust, the name of the channel, Static and Rust, left a comment saying, the answer to why did he write this is a combination of genius, avant-garde art movements being fashionable at the time and syphilis-induced insanity. Funny comment there, buddy. It's kind of an insult to someone who can't defend themselves because they're dead, but you got to imagine, because that was a question I raised in the review of Ulysses, is why would he bother writing something that's so long and so weird? Because what would he think people would think of it? And I got to imagine he expected some kind of response like what Static and Russ said, that, bro, you on syphilis? You got syphilis or something? What's going on? What drugs you taking? He had to expect that. So I imagine James Joyce would smile at that kind of a comment. And so did I. One more comment from this video. John Steele just said, ha! I hope that's a legitimate laughter at some of the funny comments in my review. So I'll just assume that it is and say thank you. Moving on. Children of the Light, Chapter 1 with better audio. There was one comment from Rosemary Kennedy that I did not reply to. She wrote, traffic cop, do you know why I'm standing here, ma'am? Motorist, you got mostly C's in high school. On to Chapter 2. I'm guessing that Rosemary Kennedy, you enjoyed the interaction between the cop and the motorist that was described in Chapter 1 of this read-through. And that made you want to read Chapter 2. The motorist wasn't a ma'am, but I appreciate that you left the comment, though. I don't expect you to get all the details exactly right. Because could hardly tell you any details from the books I just mentioned, Ulysses and Needful Things, even though I've read both of them. So nevertheless, I appreciate the comment. Thanks. And now on to his master plan revealed, part 1, the review of the Chris Watts interrogation. This is where the comments to my channel started to get so much to where that I couldn't even reply to all of them. It would take too long and it would be redundant. But I think now that I'm doing a separate video, it's detached from the crime itself, and it's more about the things that people wrote in reply to the review of the crime. So I'm more comfortable answering these now and not just replying with thanks 20 times. And I can give them a more thorough answer now that I have the time. See, this back in 2021, when I said maybe one day I'll get back to all these comments and reply to them after everyone's moved on. At that time, this window of time had opened in my life where I had the chance to make these videos, about 1 or 2 a week. And it built up some momentum for the channel because it was regular releases. That usually helps the algorithm. And ever since then, that window has been slowly closing, and, more important things, priorities, keeping up your quality of life and such. This channel makes no money, even 5 years later after it started. So more important things have come up and closed that window of opportunity, and uploads have gotten fewer and farther between. So I'm going to reply to these comments now in this video. And the first one is from Stanky B1. Said, I wish you still made true crime videos. That was 8 months ago, and at the time I had made a couple more after that, I think. 8 months ago, 2 more. No, just 1. Well, I hope you saw the one that I did make after that. But I appreciate that you liked the true crime videos. This has never been a true crime channel, as the description says. It was originally just a platform to try to get my literary works out there. Hasn't quite worked out that way. People have appreciated those literary works, but the most popular videos have been the true crime videos. So I appreciate you saying so, even though that kind of is a backhanded insult to, the non-true crime videos. But hey, you like what you like, and if you don't get it here, you get it somewhere else. I understand how it works. But thanks for the comment. The next one I didn't reply to is from Anaz. Michael, I watch your channel over and over. It's so interesting. I have never known anybody who lies so much like him being Chris Watts, I'm assuming. His parents must be very proud of him. Yeah, I think it's a combination of pride and shame that he failed at his lies. He got what leading up to the crime was a proof of how effective Chris Watts' lies were, that he was able to convince everyone that he was just a good guy. And they're also disappointed. So now they kind of live in the past to where he was perfect. His mom has actually said to him, you were perfect, because now he's not perfect anymore because he screwed up, to use his phrase. So yeah, that's a nice double meaning there. His parents must be very proud of him. I think they are proud of the man that he convinced everyone he was, and now they're disappointed that he can no longer be seen as that man. 38 Maddie said, he didn't care if he got caught. That is only explanation. Well, if you follow that crime and all the evidence, you can certainly understand why he seemed to not care at all whether or not he'd get caught. I mean, all the mistakes. I covered in great detail why he messed up so much, as did all of the channels that I listed in the description, the 5 channels that helped me the most understand this case. And then my series, his Master Plan Revealed, and the one following it, A Loving Family Man, I think, they both went into all the details that the channels I liked kind of overlooked or just didn't feel like covering because they told the whole story in their way with what they did cover. But it's easy to see why when you look at all the mistakes he made and the oversights and how much he blabbed in the aftermath of the crime he committed, just how much he lied. It's like he just trusted his brain to get him through this, and then found out the hard way about a day and a half later how unreliable his brain really was. So I strongly disagree that And I think that he did care very much that he got caught. He even said that in the interview. I care, I promise. And I believe that he did care. It's just what he did care about that's important. But I can see how confusing this case is, that you would want to just settle on he didn't care and move on with your life. Perfectly reasonable. Amanda Buchan? Sorry about these names. Sorry about my reading of them, pronunciation. Hope you do more. Think you're fabulous. Keep doing what you do. We'll keep watching. Thank you, Amanda. There were a lot more true crime videos to come after this. I think I got up to like 50 true crime videos. So I hope you enjoyed all of them. Okay. Sean Adeo said, spot on. Chris never believed for a second that anyone would suspect him of wrongdoing, if that makes sense, lol. He actually thought he could pull this off and not get caught because he's a great guy. Like her friends and family would say, oh well, I guess they're gone. We all know Chris didn't do anything to harm them. We all love him and support him. She will return when she feels like it, but don't ever blame Chris because we know he didn't do anything wrong. Then he can move on with his mistress, forget all about his past, and never look back. And many emojis after that, if you want to go back and look and see what they all are. Yeah, I believe Chris's family, meaning his parents, his sister, and the friends that he referenced in his police interrogation, they would all say that about Chris. And actually some of his coworkers would too. I think, was it Anthony Brown that was kind of ashamed of himself that he wrote, help my friend Chris Watts find his family, at the time when when Chris Watts' wife and kids were just missing. Anthony Brown was leaving public posts, help my friend Chris Watts find his wife and kids. If you know anything, let us know, give us any information you can. And then in his police interview, he would say, it's understandable why Anthony Brown thought that, because at the time, Chris Watts was just a normal guy. And his friends who see him every day didn't suspect that of him. But people who cared about Shanann, I think, and we're sawing some of the things that Shanann was going through in the weeks leading up to her murder. They suspected some of that creepy side of Chris that I believe, come on, everybody has that dark side. It's just that Chris never properly compartmentalized it, as I go into in the video, how everyone has the most despicable thoughts that you can compare to the most evil people in human history. I think everyone has those thoughts. It's just what you do with them that makes you who you are. So Chris was never able to properly separate the horrible thoughts that everyone has with just being a good guy. So that's why they collided and exploded and destroyed himself and everyone around him with the crime he committed. Because he was never able to say, I'm having these thoughts so that I can remind myself to not allow them to happen to me or the people I care about in my life. Instead, like I said, he would go, how can I get away with it? That I'm having these thoughts because I'm an evil genius and my brain is helping me get away with it. So his family, everyone immediately looked at him like, okay, I've known something was wrong with this guy for a while now, and his family going missing, his wife and kids going missing, proves that my hunch that I never brought up because there was no reason to be mean, that hunch was correct. This guy really he would do something like that. He would make his family go missing. And his family, of course, as we've heard from the prison phone calls after Chris got arrested, they still hold on to the fact that he's just a good guy because they need that in their lives. So Sean Adeo, great observation. Obviously, I agree with you, and that's why I'm guessing you wrote that, is because we share an opinion. So Lee McGrish said, everyone told Chris what a good guy he was. He got the big head. I'm guessing that's a reference to, I kind of ripped on his head shape being like an idea bulb. And Yeah, he literally and figuratively got the big head. It's just that the thing that made his head big was only in his memory, the things that makes a high IQ, memorizing and recognizing patterns. But intellectually, he was a toddler still, which is why he just thought, oh, I can just get rid of everybody. Because that's what a toddler would think. Throw a tantrum and get rid of it. Lee McGrish also said, no one will ever think of Chris Watts as a nice girl. And then she recognized that that was a typo there. So her next comment was, nice boy. Yeah, no one will ever think of Chris Watts as a nice boy. Nobody who looks at all of the evidence honestly will think of Chris Watts as a nice boy. He could have been had he ever compartmentalized his horrible thoughts properly, but to this day he can't, and the only people who will think of Chris as a nice boy are, the people who need to believe in the delusion, who need to believe in his mask, so to speak, that he's created, because it helps them feel better about themselves. Something else had to come in and do this to him, because it couldn't be that he's such a screw up. He did all these horrible things. He's not that dumb. And thinking that, believing that he's still a nice boy helps them. And of course, the rest of us who have properly matured and have compartmentalized our horrible thoughts to where we know why we have them, and we use that fuel properly to get where we're going instead of exploding, none of us will ever think of Chris as a nice boy or girl. So it's getting kind of long here. I guess based on how this goes, we'll see if I keep going with these comments. I know I enjoyed doing this, and I think I'll do more, but if no one cares, I probably won't. So maybe I'll see you next time, and if not, have a nice life.